Hey there, YouTube! It's Wednesday, time for another episode of Let's Get Better. We are on episode 8 today, and today we'll be talking about values. I know that when I started out and I posted an image online, people were always talking about how my values were wrong, or at least they weren't right. So it took me a while before I really understood what they meant, and that might be because I'm Dutch and English isn't my native language, but besides that, I just didn't really know how to do it right and what to look out for. So, if you are in the same position as I was back then, pay good attention because this might help, alright? Anyway, value is the range between black and white. In Photoshop, there are like 100 steps that you can take going from 0, which is black, to 100, which is white. And everything in between we call gray, I guess. So when you are painting or drawing and you want to make something look real, values are the most important part of pulling that off. More important than color, value is sort of what lies underneath. If it tells us how much light there is or how little light there is and how the materials are reacting to it. So if you manage to do that right in your image, you will end up having a very realistic looking image. But as with almost everything, you really need to practice it, and you need to learn how to see it and sort of get a feel for how light or how dark something is. So how do we practice this? Well, we start at the basics, and this is also where the first lesson comes in handy. The first lesson of this series, the negative space one. So if you haven't checked that out or haven't done that, then go back to lesson 1 and give that a try. Or you can just stay put and see this. That's all good. For example, we take this picture of a bear for the first exercise, and if you haven't practiced negative space, if you did practice negative space, then you have trained yourself to be able to see shapes instead of subjects, and this comes in handy with this exercise. Now, this would be a good exercise for training negative space, but it will also help you get better at spotting values. The idea is that you cut loose all the shapes that have a different value from one another. That way you train yourself to spot different levels of value. You should try this yourself a couple of times on all different images, especially on portrait photos. It is a lot of fun and it can be quite difficult to do it right. And the cool thing is that you can sort of like take it to the next level. I will show you a little image right now that I've done with a portrait photo, where it shows you that from right to left it gets more difficult, or it gets more detailed. First you got like the very overall shape of the light spots and the dark spots, and then you take it a step further where you cut away the middle spots, and then you take it even further where you cut in even more detail. And that's sort of like how you need to start seeing images, or even your own images. That way you will become better at spotting the right values and then using it in your own work. So yeah, you should do this a couple of times and try it on all different images. That's really cool. Another great exercise to increase your values, or to practice your values, is of course doing still lifes and photo studies. But another cool one is doing a self-portrait. Just grab a mirror and the lamp, or just open a window, although that's really difficult because light changes outside. So I'd recommend, especially when you're beginning, just grab a lamp, get a good lamp and just shine that from above, and try to replicate your own face. But do it in black and white, and this is really tough. So if you fail at it, don't feel bummed out, because you are going to get better at it. Just don't focus too much on likeness. Don't expect yourself to just don't expect yourself to replicate your own face as if it is a photo, because you're gonna fail at it. That's good. That's when you're learning. So as you see me in the background, I first make a canvas about 50% gray, and then I work from there. I'm looking in the mirror, but I'm not really looking at the face. I'm looking at the shapes that I see, and I try to paint them in the right place. So you will notice that most of the time you make things either too dark or you make them too light. Therefore, I always try to build up my values, staying safe, not using full black or full white, as that should actually only be seen in nature. Because, I mean, full white, you're only seeing a full 100% white when you're looking at something white and the sun is shining on it and it's in your face. That will pretty much be 100% white. Or when you're looking at a light bulb. And for black, that rarely ever happens, because that will mean that there is absolutely no light at around. Which, you know, maybe if like stuff is piled on top of another or something and there's like a little gap in between, there's actually no light and you can see a little bit of black. Maybe that's the case, you know, but rarely ever is that the case in nature. So keep that in mind when you are painting something. So like I said, I build up my values. I try to keep everything kind of close together and then slowly going darker and lighter in some places. Again, while painting this self-portrait, I'm mostly looking at the shapes rather than the face. As this comes closer to its finish, I also notice that the likeness isn't quite there yet. But painting yourself is super difficult, so if you don't get it right, just don't feel bad. Just try again. I mean, over the last few years, I've maybe done 100 or so self-portraits. And that's not because I'm obsessed with myself. No, it's just because it's a really great way to practice your painting skills. So I can only really strongly advise you to pick it up, be brave, grab a mirror or a photo, but a mirror is more difficult and also more fun. And just go and paint yourself. I mean, all the old masters did it as well, right? When they were learning, so it must be good for something. Anyway, that was it already for this week's episode. I hope you learned something or got inspired to do a self-portrait. Anyway, I hope to see you next week. If you have any questions or requests and subjects that you'd want me to tackle, please let me know in the comments below. And of course, don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. Thank you for watching and see you soon. Goodbye.